Welcome to Balance Boldly, the podcast for ambitious women in business and a few brave men. I am Naketa Thigpen, your host and balance and relationship advisor, partnering with you to change the narrative so we can amplify the intimacy within your relationships and you can have the freedom, flexibility, and confidence to thrive in work, life, and love. My personal mission for this and every episode of the Balance Boldly podcast is to serve you with the tools you need for moving beyond barely surviving the burnout of work and life, over those narrow hills of imposter syndrome, and through the barriers preventing you from being and doing greater. So, we are in season 13, people. We are here, 13 seasons into the Balance Boldly podcast. And the theme of this season is Mindset Matters. So for those of you who have been following us for a while, you know season 12 was all about the revivification, which is breathing new life into something, making something stronger and healthier and better. And we had amazing people like Dr. Yoshima and Sherry Kirkendall and Raquel Miller that were in and sharing how to do great things in a newer way and literally just breathe life into something, even if it was something old that you used to have a passion about. And normally our seasons are somewhere between 6 and 8 episodes before we break and do a new season. But I have to say, during season 12, we realized that we needed to shift because of all the good, juicy stuff that was happening both in those online recorded conversations as well as behind the scenes. So we said, let's do it. Let's jump into season 13 super fast and go into Mindset Matters. So I really want to focus on all the things that we need to apply in our mindset to make sure that we can do the changes that are necessary for us, because the reality is change is mandatory. We know it's the quintessential only thing in life that is going to happen to you, whether you like it or not. But I will say that evolution is optional when it comes to us. And I'm not talking about the evolution of the human being and what started first, chicken or egg. I'm talking about the evolution of you as a person that is growing into an impactful, purposeful person. You can change all day long, but it doesn't necessarily have to be good change, right? Like we know people change because they get older, they had life experiences, they've lost things, they've gained things. They figured out that they are the same selfish person that they were when they were 3 years old, when they just wanted what they wanted, right? Versus becoming a selfish person that can fill themselves up so they can do something even more selfless for someone else. So we know change is going to happen regardless, but what about the evolution that has to come when you've learned to apply the lessons that you've learned to your life and not repeat them? That is something that's uber important, especially for entrepreneurial thinkers. And whether you're an executive, a corporate leader, a nonprofit leader, or an entrepreneur, you know, I call you guys careerpreneurs when you're managing both that professional and entrepreneurial side. Regardless of where you are in life, you need to be able to evolve if you plan on being an impactor. The secret life of an impactor is very serious and intense, but it gets to be joyful if you actually evolve. So today, I am so excited to have with you, and this is an amazing woman. I'm so glad that Beth Lawrence connected us. And you know, Beth is one of our podcasters too, who have been on the Balance Boldly show. She immediately said when she met me, you need to meet this woman. So I want to introduce you guys to Kem Odike. She's the founder of KemKlicks LLC, with a major mission to encourage women and minority business owners to form strategic partnerships, which of course we know on the Balance Boldly podcast, we are all about powerful partnerships. She has over 20 years in experience as a digital marketing manager for some of the world's largest advertising agencies and web hosting companies, including One-in-One Internet Incorporated. Kem has lived in several countries. She is a globetrotter, y'all, a wanderlust, and she's exposed to so many diverse cultures, which makes sense why her business is focused on what she's focused on. She currently resides in the Philadelphia Suburban area with her husband and 3 beautiful, incredible children that she took time out from today to spend with us at Balance Boldly. So thank you so much, Kem, for being here. How are you today?
I am wonderful, Naketa. Thank you so much for having me this wonderful morning.
You're welcome. You know, we are excited to have you here. I am super, super excited.
Wonderful. Yes, I am too. This is, I love, and I think we've talked about it several times, I love supporting, seeing women support other women.
Yeah.
I love what you do with your show. I love what you do with your mission, and I'm all about that. So I was thrilled when you asked me to come onto this show.
Oh, thank you. Well, you know what? I think that's a really good thing to talk about because I just had a conversation with someone. I had a partnership meeting out in Delaware yesterday, and we were talking about all of the issues that come up for us as women. And I'm not talking about just minority women, but just women in general for a second, with supporting each other. And that is something that we like to say on paper. We love to use it as a hashtag, women supporting women, right? But then it takes women like us that show up for each other, right? That literally say, okay, how can I support you? What can I do? What's going on? I can't be at your event. Let me share it anyway. I know 3 people who might want to come. You know what? There's a podcast happening. I want you to be on it. And you're like, Naketa, I got an event. I got tickets for you and a table. What's up? Like that's, you know what I mean? Like that's showing up in action. And I can speak very proudly to the fact that us knowing each other a very short amount of time, you've already shown up that way for me and said, like, let me know what I can do for you. Here's something that I'm thinking, if you want it, take it, and vice versa. But not a lot of women do that. Have you experienced that while growing your business?
Well, Naketa, and that's really where how my business was born, the idea. I have obviously had a career, 20 years in the digital marketing space, in corporate America. And to answer your question, no, not really. I think that it is something we still struggle with as women, to really make sure that we're supporting each other. Look, we are women. Only women can really truly understand the struggle of another woman, in life, in business, in any arena. And we have that empathy towards each other because we know what the struggle is. So why don't we show up in a very real way, like you just said?
Yeah.
And that's where my business was born. And no, I've not really experienced that, but with very select few, I did. In my career, I've had maybe 1 or 2 female bosses that really showed me a great example of what it looks like to support another woman in a very real way. And so, yes, I've had mentors like that, but in general, I don't see that a lot. So this is where, like I said, I started to think, how can we do this? How can we do this more?
Yeah. No, absolutely. That makes sense. And it's interesting because in your more professional hat of your career, before you ultra transition and dive deep into the entrepreneurial pool, there were some female mentors that you had. And that's really interesting to the conversation we were having yesterday, is most of the challenges that the women at the table were referring to was in the corporate arena, where they felt like, because there's so few women that are in certain levels of leadership roles, not all, but some of their experiences were, in fact, that the women that were there that they thought could be potential mentors, that they were inspired by the great waves that they made, were actually kind of boxing them out and not encouraging them to grow with them because they were intimidated by the possibility that they might take their spot someday, one day, which I thought was really interesting.
That is interesting, and it is so true. Now, it depends on obviously which industry you're in.
Right.
I was in the digital marketing space. I worked at advertising agencies, then I worked at a web hosting company. It tends to be skewed more male. So, there are a few, obviously, female in positions of power. And you're right. Unfortunately, we see each other, women, very often as rivals.
Yeah.
And when you feel you've arrived at a certain level, you don't want someone else, stealing your thunder, so to speak. Or you think that sharing your success or sharing insights or helping another woman might deter from your path. And that is not true. It is.
Yeah.
It is just simply not true. And so those women who have embraced the struggle and have understood what it took for them to get there and want to succeed more further, and also recognize that the more women we have in those arenas, the better for all of us.
Right.
They do come out and they do support. And like I said, I've had 1 or 2 in my career that have done that for me. And ironically, one of them was actually not American. One of them was, I won't say where she's from. She probably knows when she listens to this. But yes, so it can be anybody from anywhere. Obviously, my passion is women, minorities, as I can relate more to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously. But yes, and again, in my career too, that was another issue in terms of race. It was, there weren't a lot of us. There weren't a lot of people that looked like us in those positions. So, you have a lot of dynamics going on, but at the end of the day, you take the good, what you learned, so you take the bad as well, and you turn it into something beautiful and wonderful. And that is my mission, my goal.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us more about the type of work you deal with, because I think it'll give everyone who's listening, those, bold and brave that are out there, a little bit more perspective and some of the ways that you've had to apply the good and the bad lessons, to your own career as you've been growing your business. What exactly do you do in the world as an impactor?
Well, for now, with KemKlicks, my mission really is to build a community of women across the globe, and like I said, to support and grow, develop partnerships. We try to facilitate things like confidence building, communication skills, cultural understanding, as well as business acumen. I mean, business, I believe, is really the key. I have a passion for entrepreneurs and business owners, professionals, because that's the way you get financially independent. That can go a long way, obviously, to secure your confidence, and that way you can be an impactor in the world. So I put on networking events. I intend to put on workshops in the future as my business evolves, and to really, I look to work with women from, and men too, but women from diverse cultures, bring them together. A lot of times we tend to work within our own, maybe within communities that we are affiliated with or we are used to, and it's hard to kind of keep an open mind and break out from that. But when you realize that, we're all kind of the same anyway, but people from different cultures can bring a richness, a different perspective that you never maybe knew before. So in my current, role, this is what I do with KemKlicks.
Yeah.
I bring people together. Now, in my past life, if that's what you're asking in terms of, working at agencies, what I learned to do was to stop, listen, and learn before I speak.
Okay.
Be very mindful of what you say in the workplace. When you come into a workplace, take in the environment, the nuances, the relationships, what have you, and really focus on the job. Focus on making sure you've honed your skill, you've made yourself very valuable in that role. And that way you will succeed. That way people will see you as someone who is, focused, dedicated, and whether they like it or not, you're going to succeed.
Right, as a high performer. Now, that makes a lot of sense, especially, just getting a feel for the culture of the organization and thriving within whatever that culture looks like just by doing your work and doing great work. For me, as, a servant leader, as a Christian woman, I do everything as unto God, regardless of the rude person that might be in front of me that, that I've really, my spirit is not clicking with, but, at the end of the day, the work that I'm doing, the performance that I'm creating, the productivity that I'm trying to get to by the end of 4:30, 5 o'clock, whatever your clock out time is, for me is to do the greater work unto God, regardless of, the person that might have directed me to do it in the first place. I hear you. And I love the stop, listen, and learn. Like, do you find that comes up a lot for you too as an entrepreneur, especially because you're gathering women, many of which who don't know each other immediately, and you have a good international, global spin to what you do, especially because you were global yourselves, traveling so much and really reaching into those women so they can understand those import export parts of their business, which I think is phenomenal because there's so many women who would want to know more about that, and they have no idea how to do import export and all that to really grow and scale their business, which is one of the major things that you help them with and connect them to. Do you find that stop, listen, learn that you pulled from your corporate background is applicable now as an entrepreneur, or not so much?
Naketa, I love, first of all, that you brought up the spiritual aspect, and I believe your faith will certainly keep you strong in whatever environment you find yourself in.
Thank
That
you.
was a wonderful point that you made. Yes, the Stop, Listen, and Learn has helped me tremendously. I find that a lot of times people just want to talk and tell you their story and share and tell you their pain points and what they're struggling with,
Mhm.
and they just want someone to listen, really. And then you can kind of, if you're able to help and assist, and I love to do that. But yes, it has absolutely helped me throughout my journey. Um, obviously I put the international spin because growing up I lived in several countries, like you mentioned,
Mhm.
and I didn't realize when I was growing up, obviously, that I was becoming a natural listener and absorber of people, just being able to break through just those superficial barriers that we seem to have with one another,
Yes.
and just get to the really the core of it, that we at the
Mhm.
end of the day we're all very, very much alike. um,
Yes.
I like to use somewhat of the analogy, but I'm married with 3 children. I'm a mother,
Mhm.
and I talk to women of all backgrounds, and it's the exact same story I hear, the exact same struggles, being married, same struggles having children, being a working mother. It's the same. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter which culture you're from. And so I try to focus on that, instead of the superficial barriers that we really create for ourselves.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes. I love that, Kim. Looking for the common core. I love it because at the end of the day, to your point, like regardless of what country, what city, what state, what place, rural, urban, or not that you're from, we are human. And on the human level, we have so many of the same urges and feelings or defeats that we're dealing with. It doesn't matter bank account differences or industry differences or career hat differences. When you're sad, you're sad. When you're happy, you're happy, right? Like, and the fact that you have learned to really hone into the gift that you have of listening so that you can connect with people on a deeper and greater level is quite inspiring. So I applaud you for that because not enough people do it.
oh, thank you so much. I hope to continue and to grow myself, to be a better listener always, and to really to support women. Now, Naketa, I have to tell you, just from my journey, you know, really, even just having children, if you are a mother, you have
Mm-hmm.
children out there, and you know what it's like to juggle family and work and business and what have you. It is very tough. And I really encourage women to not look at their limitations, whether it be race, perceived limitations to
Mm-hmm.
your progress, whether it be race or gender or whatever it might be, to focus on, like you said, your strengths,
Yes.
focus
Yeah.
on your strengths, what you can do, and don't focus on what you can't do. And partnerships, this is why we form partnerships, because people bring different gifts to the table, you know
Exactly.
and and that's another thing I love doing. I love playing matchmaker, especially in the business professional. Like, oh, okay, I think this person could really partner well with that, because I see them, really working, they have certain strengths that seem to really, there's synergy there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, being a master connector is one of my secret gifts as well. And I love putting people together. Well, first because I love love, right? And I love the fact that I could spark something great. Especially if people can get out of their own way to do it, right? Like to not have those trust walls and all that other stuff. But to your point, like, balancing the hats of mom and wife and business owner and connector and community leader and all the other various things that we don't even have time to like unlayer and unpill today because you got to get them babies off to school this morning. I Right, you're like, oh yeah, those kids. Right. Right, but I love that you acknowledge that everything in its time, right? Like, there's partners and people out there that can help offset the things that you may not have physical time for right now, and they have the time, so together you can do greater things. Like, you can do great all by yourself, but you can do greater when you partner with other people. And then, when your little people grow a little older, become even more self-sufficient, it opens up different responsibility areas that are coming with that, but it also opens up different opportunities for you too. And I know, being in business for the last 8 years, and my youngest is 18 now, I went through the same things of things I could not do when I was carpooling and taking her to 5 different activities every week are very different than now when she's a little bit more efficient and I can just track her on her iPhone app, right?
That's right, Naketa. The
different.
Seasons of your life. And I'm so happy you brought that up because, yes, when my kids were younger, babies, toddlers, that was a different season in my life. I have to tell you, it was extremely stressful, like I'm sure for any other mother out there, but I really did struggle. I really, almost to the point of having a meltdown. It's not easy. It's not easy when, even if you're not working, it's not easy having young children, and it's a season of your life. Like you said, now your 18-year-old, they're a little bit more independent, giving you a little bit more free time to yourself, and you go through those seasons, and it's wonderful. It's beautiful, but it's tough.
Absolutely. It is tough. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we're running out of time, but I want to ask you, tell me really quickly, how do you give yourself permission to pause, and how can people connect with you? Because we want to continue the conversation. So how can they connect to get more of KemKlicks?
Oh, wonderful. Okay. So how I give myself permission to pause. I love, I work out occasionally. I'm not a gym rat or anything, but I love to go to the sauna. My local YMCA has a sauna, which that is I have my moment of Zen there. I relax, I think, if you will, meditate, but I think about my day and my strategy moving forward. How people can connect with me, I would love to hear from you. Actually, my personal email, do you want me to give them my email address?
Yeah, that's perfect. Don't worry about spelling it. We got you, but go ahead.
It's Kem at KemKlicks.com. It's my name. Kem at KemKlicks.com, or you can go to my website, KemKlicks.com.
That is perfect. Thank you, Kem. You are so amazing. I know you have to go and put the babies on the bus and get them out the door for school. I'm so honored that you carved time for us. Thank you so much today.
Oh, I appreciate it, Naketa. Keep up the good work. I love it.
I will do my best to continue. Thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for tuning in, whether you were driving, on your treadmills, wherever you were in the world, listening to the Balance Boldly today, and our wonderful expert, Kem Odike. We're so grateful that she came today. Of course, as usual, if you like what you hear on Balance Boldly for ambitious women in business, please subscribe, rate, and share to help us ensure that other ambitiously bold and brave have access to these valuable life, love, and business balance tools. You know to connect with me at Ask Naketa on IG, Twitter, Facebook, and of course you can follow us on YouTube. Now go, create your balance, create your joy, but remember to do it boldly. Thank you for listening.